So the Vikings still have like 20 million cap space, and what are they going to do with all that? What are they planning? What are they up to? Oh God, what are they up to? Oh God!
You are Locked On Vikings, your daily Minnesota Vikings podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Locked On Vikings podcast, where we're always trying to learn something new. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you so much for making Locked On Vikings your first listen of the day every single day. I appreciate my hashtag everydayers so very much. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Today on the show, it is Town Hall Tuesday. That means I am answering your questions as submitted to me via the Google form in the show notes to any podcast episode or the YouTube description if that's where you're at, or wherever it is you're listening to shows. You can find it there. You can give me your questions, or you can confess some hot takes. We got some hot ones today. But first, I am going to field a two-part question from Hamlet, who asks, the first part is, I've been thinking a lot regarding the amount of cap we still have for this coming year. In your opinion, do you think Kwesi has his eye on a situation in particular that he's saving up for, or just staying ready so he doesn't need to get ready in the event an opportunity comes up? Probably a little bit of both. So they've got 21 mil in cap, I think officially. Effective cap, which is an over the cap thing that they do that kind of subtracts like the money you're going to have to spend for your draft class, for example. And other credits that maybe are going to kick in depending on like contract triggers that are around or whatever. But their effective cap space is more like 19 mil. And here's the thing. I've seen a lot of speculation that they've got this like big hunk of cap space and it's like being reserved for Aaron Rodgers in particular. It's part of the Aaron Rodgers thing. And you guys are all just like straight up wrong. That's not, for one, they don't have, I don't think, enough for the contract that he's probably going to get from the Steelers. But for two, they're like 20th in cap space right now. Like they've spent enough to not be in the top of the league anymore. They're just, it's a pretty normal cap space, amount of cap space to have this time of year. So there are a few things that it could go to. By the way, the Steelers have more. The Steelers have 33 mil right now. So if anybody's holding aside cap space for Aaron Rodgers, it's the team that, has been widely reported to be the most interested in him. But this is not, we're not going to get lost in it again. Okay. That's it. That's the last mention of it for the day. Okay. I promise. So here's some things that it could come to, right? That's not an abnormal amount of cap space to have this time of year. And therefore I don't think that there is like a specific thing that it's earmarked for that they're just like waiting to process. There are a few things that are going to come up over the next few months. One, after the draft, comp pick stuff changes. Players who used to count toward the compensatory formula will no longer count toward the compensatory formula. After the draft, and I think it's like May 1st, but basically after the draft, nobody counts toward the comp formula anymore. Compensatory picks no longer get rewarded or taken away, so you can sign whoever you want. There are a lot of players who I think are maybe worth their contracts, but everybody is just waiting for it to not also cost them a compensatory pick. That's probably something the Vikings are going to do. Kwesi even said it, like mentioned it, cited it exactly as a reason that they maybe haven't picked up a backup quarterback yet, and maybe something else. So that's part of it. And so teams have left a lot of money aside to be able to participate in those bidding wars. There is the draft. There is I'll call it the top 51 kind of cut down day considerations. In the offseason, only your top 51 contracts count toward your actual effective cap space. You have 90 players on the roster, and they're not going to fit under a normal 53-man salary cap, so you only have to deal with the top 51. Why is it not 51? Why is it 51 and not 53? Beats me. That's a question that only God can answer. But I don't get it, man. But on cut down day, you have to get the whole 53 and the practice squad, which those aren't huge contracts, but if there's like 16 of them, they add up. So you kind of need to carry like 10 mil of that into camp, really. I think that rule of thumb is carry 10 mil into camp. or carry 10 mil into the draft maybe is better. And anything additional to that is maybe earmarked for stuff they're going to do after the draft. So yeah, there's like I think a bunch of little tiny expenses that are going to eat into that. And by the time we actually get to like training camp, they're going to be much tighter than it looks. Your second question, Hamlet, says, have you heard anything / what do you think of the Jair Alexander situation? Reports I've read seem to indicate that things are still going bad. And if they can't find value for him in the draft, it feels like it'll be a cut. Do you think it's a possibility, and would he be a fit with Flo's D? So I don't know what is going on with Jair Alexander. I don't follow the Packers, so I reached out to somebody that did. So April Fools, Peter Bukowski is on Locked On Vikings. Enjoy.
Hey guys, Peter Bukowski from Locked On Packers here to weigh in on this one. Things are not going great between the Packers and Jair Alexander. That's certainly true, but the Packers don't need the financial flexibility that moving on from Jair Alexander would give them, and they are resolute right now. They want to get something for Jair Alexander. And the longer it goes that they don't, the more leverage they have over Jair Alexander to say, look, this is the trade market for you. It is nothing. You are not going to get more money on the open market than we might be offering on a pay cut, even though at last reporting, there had been no pay cut. And the understanding was Jair Alexander would not take a pay cut. I think the Packers are going to take this as long as they can before releasing Jair Alexander. And that includes trying to get him to reduce his cost this year, whether it's for them or for someone else. Now, whether or not he wants to do that is going to be a sticking point for as long as this goes. One extra caveat I want to throw in here. June 1st would allow the Packers to spread out Jair Alexander's cap hit. They don't actually want to do that. They have some cap problems in 2026. If they're going to move on from Jair Alexander, they would like to eat all of that salary up front with the dead cap and whatever. They can afford it right now so that they don't have to pay Jair Alexander in 2026. They are hoping a team like the Ravens, a team like the Jaguars, someone after the draft goes, oh crap, we didn't get the guy in the draft we wanted. It makes sense for us, especially with now it being a 2026 draft pick, that we'll go and trade. We'll give the Packers something for Jair Alexander.
So I am not sure that that's going to lead to a reconciliation necessarily. I mean, yeah, maybe somebody comes around and says, yeah, we'll give you like a 6-7 swap or whatever. But I do think that kind of is just like careening toward a cut. Eventually, they're just going to say like, whatever, especially if they don't want to June 1st it like Peter said. So would he be a fit with Flo's D? Yeah, I guess he can press. He can, like, I think he can still do some stuff okay, but I don't know. The Vikings do have a habit of signing like the most washed corner alive, and I kind of think that's Jair right now. So maybe he gets really mad at the Packers and he wants a revenge tour. I think it would make as much sense as like Stephon Gilmore did, you know? Like, sure. You're not going to expect him to be the guy he once was, but sure. Pelly Vike says, one thing that bothered me throughout this past season was the amount of affirmation KOC had to give Darnold after every game. I just thought, is this guy so fragile mentally that he needs to be pumped up after every game and told how great he is? Do you think this is just a KOC thing, or is this something he had to do for a weak-minded QB? Boy, I absolutely hate the wording there that you have used. I don't think that that's a weak-minded thing at all. Some people respond more to positive. Some people respond more to negative. There are different learning styles. There are different motivation styles. And I think it's on KOC and coaches in general to understand what those styles are for each of their players. But it's certainly not a weak-minded thing to be more receptive and more, or not receptive, but more responsive to positive motivation versus negative motivation. Like, what do you want people to like man up and get yelled at more? I don't know. That feels like a misunderstanding of how people teach and learn. It's pronounced Sona, not sauna. Hot take. Says, I'd like to fix the Lions NFL rule change proposal. Make illegal contact 5 yards and replay the down. Make defensive holding 10 yards and replay the down, and leave PI the way it is. Is this a reasonable adjustment that will also not get the Lions carte blanche to hold JJ any more than they already do? Yeah. So the illegal contact thing, it's a Lions proposal that they want to make it so illegal contact isn't an automatic first down. It's just 5 yards and replay the down. And it's essentially, you're just expanding the Lions proposal. I wouldn't say that you're fixing it. For me, I think it is worth revisiting what is and isn't an automatic first down, but because defensive holding often prevents a large gain, Like that could have been a 30-yard gain. I think an automatic first down is appropriate there. But for like something like illegal hands to the face, not necessarily an automatic first down. I would even say roughing the passer. I know it's like an unsportsmanlike, and so maybe it's an automatic first down just for punitive reasons. And if that is the reason, like I'm pretty receptive to that. But like that's not something that you could potentially abuse. Put it this way. If you are getting dusted on the release, just hold. If it's 3rd and 15, just hold. Knock him down. Okay. If it doesn't work, then yeah, they get another chance, but it's better than you getting dusted for a touchdown. Like it would become strategic to hold, and I don't want football to become like basketball where strategic penalties become a thing. Hercules Mataafa Rememberer asked, I've been thinking about the defensive line and draft lately. You've mentioned that we're in a good spot for depth with Taki Redmond and Levi Drake Rodriguez. Because of this, I wouldn't use a day 3 pick at the position if I were in charge. Do you agree, or do you just think draft good players, man, is a more compelling argument? You know, there's a part of this. The way I like to think of it is, you know, does this person have a path to the roster? Is, I guess, the only question. And yeah, path to the roster, all you got to do is beat out like Taki Taimani or Levi Drake Rodriguez. If you feel that person can do it, draft him. And if you don't, then yeah, that's probably like, you're probably not going to draft a guy with like no chance to make the team, right? Unless there's like a crazy upside thing that you're trying to go for or something like that. For more on that, listen to yesterday's show. But, I think, and elsewhere in the question, you guys write so much in these questions. Elsewhere in the question, Hercules Mataafa Rememberer says, you know, not necessarily about adding a DT early in the draft, right? Because that guy would have a very clear path to the roster, and then you're just trying to get like playing time. But also, you know, he's behind a bunch of 30-year-olds that might not be, you know, that might be cuttable next year. Like there's a path there, right? And all I need to know is what's the vision. If you have a vision for it, you can break those principles of like, well, you know, you don't want redundancy. Well, maybe you do if you see a path for that guy getting playing time next year. Look at Dallas Turner, right? Not a great path to playing time last year because of Jonathan Grenard and Van Ginkel, but Van Ginkel's in the last year of his deal. And they also drafted Dallas Turner before they knew that those guys were going to make Pro Bowls. And I think a little insurance was also probably a wise idea. So it's definitely not something that you like say no to. It just that sets the standard. I guess your standard is you need to feel that guy would improve upon that depth. I love that depth. If you feel like you can improve upon it, great. And if not, yeah, you can probably look elsewhere with the pick. Okay, I've got a whole bunch more questions to get to and your hot takes. So that'll all be next on Locked On Vikings. Today's Locked On Vikings episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Have you ever looked at your bank account and been like, oh my God, where's all my cap space? Look, sometimes we order out a little bit too much. Maybe we get a little bit too crazy online shopping or whatever. It's easy to lose track. You have a vacation, you put it all on the credit card, and then suddenly that bill comes due. But that is where Monarch Money can come in. Monarch Money is your own personal CFO. It's so much more than just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. So you can stop just managing your money and start actually building wealth. It's an all-in-one for all of the finance apps that you could ever want. You can use Monarch to check your finances, to track spending, even plan long-term goals, and you can manage money with a partner. So if you're the kind of person with a joint bank account with a spouse or someone else, you can all stay on the same page without any hassle using the Monarch Money app. Take control over your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off of your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNFL for half off of your first year. Moving right along here with the Locked On Vikings podcast. It's Town Hall Tuesday. That means I'm answering your questions. The next one comes from Jared, who asks, is J.J. McCarthy eligible for Rookie of the Year, and if not, why? He was never on a game day roster. I would think it's similar to Jalen Redmond being considered a rookie or when Ben Simmons won Rookie of the Year in the NBA. So I don't think Jalen Redmond would have been eligible for Rookie of the Year in the same way because Jalen Redmond had been on rosters, not game day rosters, but why does it have to be game day rosters? He was on rosters at a point, and his first year of eligibility in the NFL is his rookie year. That's just how it's delineated. Again, football should not become more like basketball. It should try to be as far away from the NBA as possible. I feel like this is self-evident. Mac asks, a lot of fans have interest in us trading down from pick 24, but it also takes two to tango. What are some realistic pick trades we could expect in terms of value across various draft charts? What are some teams in this year's draft that have pick combinations that might align with those? So I'll just point you to the Minnesota Football Party that went up on Monday. We did a mock draft and we did a ton of trades down. We didn't make an actual selection until pick 50. So we kind of played around with a whole bunch of them. But I will say the need for exact change, I think, with Kwesi is a lot less of a thing because he will be like, I'll send you your 2, 3, and 4 for our 2, 3. Like they'll find a way to make the math work. It's more about who wants to come up and who are they coming up for. Like, Tyler Warren, is that his name? The Penn State tight end that everybody's really excited about, or if there's a QB that people are going to come up for, which I doubt, but you're going to hear rumors about it. So I guess it's something to keep in mind. If there's somebody worth trading up for, and unfortunately for us, I don't think that there is. I really don't think that there's a guy to like trade up for in this draft unless there's some team that's just really got a crazy outlier grade on somebody, which could happen. But for me, if I were picking at like 32, like if I had like a high second round pick and I was thinking to get back in the first, there is just nobody that makes me want to do that like at all. Like, I don't know. Nobody scratches that itch for me. And if they do, like outside of like a guy that was supposed to go top 10 falling really far, like, you know, if Abdul Carter starts falling, you know, gas mask style surprise, then I guess. Kevin, this person is probably Kevin, asks, you mentioned that Malachi Starks isn't a Flores fit. He won't get past the Dolphins, but could you explain why Starks couldn't be a Cam Bynum replacement? And he wasn't a super aggressive, hard hitting safety. It seems like you're looking for in a Flores defense. Yeah, no, for sure. But remember that Flores didn't choose Bynum. Flores inherited Bynum and made it work. I don't know if he would go get another Bynum. Like, I know that kind of sounds crazy because he was a good safety, but I don't know if he would like pursue that style again. That's all I'm saying. But for sure, I'm not going to be like, then, so I think the Vikings will have Malachi Starks off their board. Like, no, it's just going to change the way that they value him. Another Kevin, that's probably not Kevin, says, this draft class sucks. Does that mean we should lower what normal expectation is for a player at the end of round 1? True, man. I don't want to be this guy, but this draft class is not exciting to me at all. I know there's like 3 or 4 players up at the top that everybody's really excited about, and everybody else feels like this class is just like making rotational players, like just a guys. It's just a guy .draft. Like, I don't know. So what the normal expectation is for a player at the end of round 1, maybe. I think it changes the way that you trade. Right? Like the idea of trading from 20 up to 10 is like way less interesting now than it was, say, in 2021 when the Bears actually did that to go up to get Justin Fields. But I think, I think the fact that there's only the 2 quarterbacks in it makes it so that like last year there were 6 quarterbacks in the top 12 picks that pushed everybody down the board. And suddenly you had all this like intrigue of like, whoa, a guy like Dallas Turner shouldn't be available here. Maybe we can go up and get him. And like that kind of was the impetus for the Vikings doing that. You just don't have that geography here. So yeah, I don't know. That said, I don't know. Whoever we pick, and we'll evaluate them and we'll figure it out from there. But I think applying like generalized standards to specific situations always gets you in trouble. Shoved off Jack. That sounds, I don't know, vulgar. Says, what were your thoughts on Lewis Cine coming out of college? Not trying to see if you were wrong or right, just genuinely curious. So unfortunately for you, the 2022 draft for me was a bit phoned in. I was working very, very hard at the time on the history doc, which you can find at patreon.com/LukeBrownNFL. It's under collections. You can go to the history of the Minnesota Vikings. It's a 7-part history series, average of about an hour each. It's like a TV series that goes over the entire history of the Minnesota Vikings. I produced the entire thing all alone, with the exception of some short animations that I commissioned from a friend. So that was a lot of work, and I totally phoned in the draft. So when Lewis Cine got drafted, I watched him and I saw, oh, okay, this guy triggers downhill. I liked the way that he mentally processed. That didn't play out in the NFL at all. And I really just kind of saw him as this like hard-hitting missile guy. And that was about all I was able to conjure at the time, but I wasn't really able to get too deep. But I will say I liked the pick. You can actually go back to the live stream of that, where I was like, oh, Lewis Cine, yeah. I liked the idea of him based on what I knew about him at the time, but I hadn't watched him before the draft. So I was pretty happy with the pick at the time. Obviously, yeah, I turned out pretty wrong there. Okay, I think it is time for your hot, scorching, molten, sexy takes. Let's get to those next on the Locked On Vikings podcast. Today's episode of Locked On Vikings is brought to you by FanDuel. The Final Four have arrived, or at least most of it as of this recording. And FanDuel is giving you the chance to get in on the action like never before. So if your bracket is busted, if your bracket is totally gone and you're in, second to last in your pool, in your office pool, why don't you just throw on a little FanDuel, put a little parlay down, maybe a little live bet, have a little something extra to watch so that you don't have to sit there bored while you watch your coworker lord over you that you didn't pick Florida to make it this far. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's 200 extra bucks you can use on anything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories and even who will cut down the nets at the end of the tournament. Visit FanDuel.com and get in on college hoops action all tournament long. Moving right along with the Locked On Vikings podcast, it's time for your hot takes. It's time to get a little dangerous here. It's time to act with reckless abandon. So I have some I got a lot of hot takes this time. So we're going to flash through them pretty quick. The first one comes from Jack. I hope you didn't get shoved off, whatever that means. Says, I don't think trading Jordan Addison or at least drafting another wide receiver if one falls is necessarily a bad idea. This is probably the most room temp take in this one. We talked about it on a 4-0 Friday, I think a couple weeks ago. And so I think trading Jordan Addison away, if somebody gives you a first round pick, you do it. You'll have your price, but I don't think you should actively seek to. You might as well take the rookie year contract value that you get on that. You don't want to draft a guy, have him play 2 years, and then turn it back into a draft pick that you then have to hit on again. So I don't think that that's necessarily a part of it, but yeah, just drafting a wide receiver. Look, if there's a wide receiver that you love, and I said this on the football party this morning. I also said it on the 4-0 Friday when we were talking about this. It has to be that you think that wide receiver is better than Addison. What I don't want to hear is let's trade away Jordan Addison, get a first-round pick, and then use a first-round pick on a wide receiver we think is half as good as Jordan Addison. You just turn Jordan Addison into a guy that's not as good, right? You need to feel that guy is better. And that's up to you, how you evaluate the wide receivers. I'm probably not going to pay a lot of attention to them this year on the bet that they don't do it, but I certainly wouldn't, my jaw wouldn't hit the floor. It just means that they probably think that guy is better. And then you either let Jordan Addison play out his rookie deal and walk, or you trade him at some point, or you kind of play it out from there. But I think you would let that room just be really good for a couple of years. You don't need to have 3 receivers and only 3 receivers. You know what I mean? Ragnar Reinbeard has a limerick. I don't really think the take here is very hot, but I appreciate the work, so I'm going to read the limerick. Young Flores, with corners a plea, saw the GM, quite dense you'll agree. He grabbed a fast back while the secondary lacked. Now Flores just stares at his TV. I appreciate your poetry here, but I think the take is just that they are going to take a running back instead of secondary, and Flores isn't going to like it. It's reasonable. That's fine. I mean, it was a favored outcome even before they got Aaron Jones and Jordan Mason. And hey, if they really love a running back, they might do it. I don't know. Probably not now that they have both those guys under contract for 2 or 3 years, but I don't know. Stranger things have happened. Thor, pretty sure this is actually Thor Nystrom because of the take, says JJ McCarthy wins both comeback player of the year and MVP. True. Cook. Yep. That seems like what is prophesized. I don't know if you can get both. I guess you can, right? Yeah, of course you can get both. What am I talking about? Yeah, go ahead. Go nuts. Scold Your Horses says, we will draft a future Hall of Famer in a low-value position in the upcoming draft with our Kirk Cousins comp pick. That's pick 97 is courtesy of Kirk Cousins signing with the Falcons, by the way. And he defines low value positions as running back, center, guard, and off-ball linebacker. To hedge this take, he will be a Pro Bowler this season. That doesn't hedge the take; that doubles down on it. But so we will draft with that 97th overall pick a Pro Bowler that will ultimately be a Hall of Famer. Yeah, it's more of a bold prediction than a hot opinion, but we take those. Skin Bear says the 2025 Vikings will get the team sack record and finish with 81 sacks in the season, but also the record for most turnovers in a season by giving the ball away 73 times. Sounds about right, man. Look, if you get a whole bunch of attention on the inside and Jonathan Grenard suddenly cooks and has a crazy career year and becomes a household name, and you get a bunch of Jonathan Allen production because he comes back to form. You don't have to be all that optimistic about a lot of these players. Plus Dallas Turner, it's kind of stacked on D-line now. They really went for it. But the turnover thing, you've got a first-year quarterback, right? You've got fumbleitis that still haunts this team from a couple years ago. Yeah, I could see it. Too hot to handle. Well, I'll be the judge of that. Says, I don't think Ryan Kelly is going to be the upgrade everybody thinks he is. I am worried that his injuries will catch up to him at some point, and the move from Bradbury will be more of a lateral move than an upgrade. The money would kind of agree with you. Like, they're not paying Ryan Kelly a ton. I think it's in total like $9 million a year with some incentives, where they were paying Bradbury like 5 or 6 a year. So it's like it didn't go up a lot. And I think that probably is reflective of the actual improvement that they expect. So I don't know if this is the hottest take in the world. But also, you're talking to like Garrett Bradbury's final defender. So that's probably coloring my take here. I do think Ryan Kelly is a better player, pretty cut and dry. And unless he just really age regresses like really hard right now, that is that we can expect that to continue. But so I was listening to Access Vikings. They were talking to somebody from the Indianapolis media, and it's not really about that at all. That's not why the Colts let him walk. It was a money thing, that they didn't want to be spending so much on their interior anymore. It was a little bit health. So, maybe Ryan Kelly will be injured all the time, and that's not an upgrade on Garrett Bradbury, who did play every game. So, except he got COVID once. That was it. So, yeah, that's maybe that there's a way for you to end up ultimately being prescient. Tank B has a great one who says, I have this bad feeling the Venn diagram for the brains of JJ McCarthy and Aaron Rodgers is a circle. Oh, no, Tank B, you're going to get me in a lot of trouble. Yeah, I don't think you're out on a limb here at all. If you look at the way that JJ McCarthy expresses himself on social media, it is the most primed to be like indoctrinated by a self-help cult guy I have ever seen. Okay. And I say this with all the love in the world. All right. This is not an insult. I find it very endearing. I find it very like bright-eyed, bushy-tailed young guy with all the hope and optimism of the world. But like, man, if that guy reads, if he finds the wrong podcast, he's getting radicalized instantly. And this is just what happened to Aaron Rodgers. Joe Mama says, this corner situation is going to be an embarrassment. We're relying on so many people to take steps forward. Blackman was a backup and is coming off an ACL. And we're like, yep, let's pencil him in as the guy. Isaiah Rodgers hasn't proven anything, and Murphy has only had one fully healthy season in his career, which he was the one before he got paid big money. I'm not that scared, generally pretty optimistic, but it's definitely odd that people are pretending like these are absolute fixes. I don't know if that's the take that I've gotten on it. At least that's not what I've been saying. I've been like, that room, for the reasons that you cited, needs one more guy that can just be a source of competition, so that if any one of those three members of the team are just a total disaster, which is in the possibility, you have another person who can be like a serious option that you can go to, so you sort of have your insurance against that. But adding a rookie, which has his own risk, is also maybe a little bit spooky. I will say about Blackman's ACL, all the reports are that is completely in the past, that he's fully recovered, and that it's not going to slow him down anymore. But obviously you got to see it to believe it, and you got to wait until actual football is played to see if he can still play at the level he was before, which, by the way, wasn't exactly a world beater. Like, he did make his mistakes as a rookie, and so you also need to expect that step forward, even though he just spent a whole year rehabbing. I don't really know what to expect from Mekhi Blackman, and I think you should see him as a risky asset. And you got to add another corner to that room, somebody that you can really trust. And that's where you get the most washed corner alive. That's where, grabbing Jair Alexander right after the Packers cut him would actually make sense there. Anonymous says, not a hot take nationally, but definitely is to Vikings fans. I think we take a big step back next year because we had top 10 level QB play. And I don't think JJ will be anywhere near that. And a couple other things, but that's the big one. Oh, and injury luck. Yeah. Yeah, I think those are fine reasons for the Vikings to regress. They won 14 games last year. I don't think anybody expects them to win 14 games last year. Their over-under is 8.5. And honestly, that's mostly reflective of people not really knowing how good JJ McCarthy is and just kind of throwing it at 500 and nobody's going to bet it. But people are actually hammering the over a little bit better than the under there. But yeah, I think being like a 9-10 win team, that is a step back, but I don't think it's one that people would be that upset about. So it sounds like a hot take, but I don't know if it's like all that hot. I think it's just a different framing. But yeah, I don't think anybody thinks that the Vikings are going to show up and just like rattle off 14 wins again. It's really hard to do that 2 years in a row, mostly because those teams tend to be kind of healthy and then their injury luck doesn't replicate. And then a position group gets worse, right? Like contracts expire. Did you replace them with the right guys? Not to mention, the quarterback change. But I will say for this to work, for the Vikings to be like a good team this year, JJ McCarthy has to be like a little better than Nick Mullins. I think he can do that. Last one comes from Dr. Bops, who says Levi Drake Rodriguez will end up being a starter by the end of the season. That is the kind of stuff I'm looking for. Oh, yes. Dude played with some wild violence when he had snaps, but he didn't have the play strength or experience. He's going to explode this year. Yeah, man. He was sixth in that room last year. I don't know what to tell you, but I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that you're wrong to send me that, Dr. Bops. Okay, great hot take. All right, I will see you all tomorrow. Maybe some more draft stuff. Maybe we'll have some news. Who knows what could happen? The sunrise can bring anything, and isn't that beautiful? I'll see you all tomorrow, and as always, Skull.